What's up, Fiends? Adam Card here. Today we have two very special guests, Joey V and Dr. V from the B Zone. All right. Welcome, guys. How y'all doing?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're very welcome. All right. So for those that don't know, this is the amazing Joey V and Dr. V. They are hosts on a Roku channel called the B Zone, which is a fantastic Roku channel. I'm gonna leave the link below to all their info and how you can get to the B Zone. How did you get brought into doing a hosting gig quite like this?
Okay, so it's pretty interesting. I used to work for a different channel, obviously, long time ago, and I was fans of the Facebook page, and I started watching that channel through the Roku, obviously. And by doing so, I started picking up on the movies and knowing, who was in it and stuff like that. And finally, the owner said, I'm looking for a host for action show and for a sci-fi show. And I thought, that action show I posted, that sounds like it's going to be pretty fun. He said, why don't you try out for it? And I had never done anything like this before. So I said, thank you for the offer, but I'm going to have to politely decline. And he said, well, you never know if you don't try. So I said, all right, well, I guess I kind of have to go for it now.
Gotcha.
He's actually leaving a little something out there. I would say the opportunity kind of came along at a good point in our lives where it was nice to have a little, like a new hobby. There were some things going on in our personal lives that it was like, this was the right moment to find some sort of like artistic outlet, something that we could do together that was just kind of mindless and separate from the real world.
Right.
Turn off your brains and think about bad movies.
Yeah.
For a few hours a week.
And I had already had a bunch of the movies that were on this channel already. So
Right.
I was able to pick out things from my own.
Yeah, he'd already been amassing the publishers who do like 100 movies for $5 on several DVDs. And
Yeah,
he'd already been collecting those.
I had already had like 800 movies, so I was already able to pick and choose some things as well.
Nice. And so that was the birth of Action Smacks, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Action Smacks is I guess your baby, right? I guess
Kind of the flagship, I guess, of what we do.
Yeah.
That's a better way to put it. Yeah.
And that's why I've been taking time away from it. It's such a great baby. I want to bring it back, but the heart grows fonder.
Well, we did like 150. We're probably already getting ahead of other questions you're going to ask, but we did like 150 episodes of Action Smacked, and it reached a point where it just started to feel like wash, rinse, repeat, and we needed. We still do episodes here and there, but it's much less frequent. It's more like if we really encounter a movie that we want to feature, we don't feel compelled to like keep adding to that 100 and whatever episodes it is that we already have.
Right. Do you find it harder to find more movies to use?
Yeah.
And
after a while, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably for a few different reasons, and it definitely is partly because we've already used our favorites from the collections that we have. It's difficult to try to find the right movie because it's got to have some people in it that are worth talking about. Because the structure of the show, and just for your audience, for anybody who's never seen it before, we do an intro segment and an outro segment. So, we don't interrupt in the middle for Action Smacked. And the intro is just a quick, here's what the movie is. But then at the end, we talk a lot about the actors, what their careers looked like, other just sort of trivia about the movie and that kind of thing. And if it's too much of a movie that just has nobody in it, if it's that much of a if you reach a point where it's not even a cult classic and you've absolutely nothing to talk about and there's nobody in it that's recognizable, that's a difficult episode to do. Like there's got to be something about it that we can talk about. So there's either got to be recognizable people in it, or sometimes if it's completely ridiculous enough, like the plot is so batshit that maybe that, like, sometimes that gives us enough material in itself. But for those reasons, it can be hard to find the right movie to begin with because we have to have something to talk about. And then the other thing that I'm sure, as you know, has been happening is just a lot of like purchasing up of these old movies. There's a trend right now of people rediscovering these, and different publishing companies, production companies saying, oh, I can buy that and sell that now for streaming and that kind of thing. So a lot of movies that used to be open access and free for us to do whatever we wanted with, they're getting snapped up, and we can't do that anymore. So it's kind of a multifold issue. And I would definitely say, yeah, it's getting to be more and more difficult to find the right movie to feature, especially now we've done so many already.
Right.
And like, and as she was saying, as you know, like the whole thing about finding a movie like that is having the great actors with a dumb script and something like when you have magic, like I just know it. Like as soon as I put it on, like we did Speed Zone, was episode 100, and I just knew as soon as I saw I had clearance for it and the people that were in it, like, okay, this is money. I know what I need to do with this. And I could have done that a few episodes before, but I knew how good that was going to be. I put that on the back burner and I waited because I knew how much, like, it's just got to be the right thing. When you have lightning in a bottle, you got to run with it at the right time, especially with these movies now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, speaking of movie, you guys have introduced me to so many of these movies that I had never heard of or seen before.
Awesome.
And I mean a bunch of them. I've seen probably at least half of them, if not more. And I haven't seen every single episode. I've seen a whole lot of them, to be honest. But
we've done so many. I think I could probably watch some of them and not remember it at this point. It'd be new to me.
What was that one we did with the Italian one that I always forget the name of? Evil Ron and Bean Dad.
Oh, yeah. Well, we turned it into a whole joke. It was like Lazy Joe and Fat Larry or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, mean Tony.
Even while we were filming that, we kept forgetting the name of it. So it became a whole joke. But yeah, it is like they do start to run together because obviously these movies rely on the same old cliches over and over again.
Right. So what attracted you guys to like the B movie aesthetic or the B movie genre in general?
Well, I think for me, I definitely became interested in it as like a teenager because my parents never had cable. So, you know, it'd just be sort of whatever random garbage was on Saturdays was kind of what I had to watch. No other options really. And so you'd find a lot of like old Hercules movies and garbage like that on the random local channels. And then something else that started popping up occasionally on these random local channels was Mystery Science Theater, which was on cable at the time. So I kind of sought it out a little bit and like would hang out at my friend's house and watch it with them and that kind of thing. The friends who had cable. So that was another sort of like entree into like more exposure to what was going on with these B movies. But I would say that sort of went away for a while when I was in my 20s and Netflix started to become a thing. I was definitely an early adopter of the 3-disc subscription and was devouring them. But what happened then was I actually started to get very disillusioned with big studio films because just digesting having this opportunity now to digest so many movies that I hadn't before was when I started to see how boring a lot of what was going on was and how repetitive and predictable. And I just started to realize, wow, Hollywood, when did they stop trying? Probably forever ago. But with B movies, there's always a new surprise. People are more experimental. There's a definite like, I don't give a crap how this is going to turn out. I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. And I think we kind of bring that same spirit to what we do as well. Like half the time what we do doesn't turn out the way we expect, but we just run with it anyway.
And for me, like it started early on here. You know, I was from the Philadelphia area, and after Saturday Night Live, you stay up when you're a little kid, and you watch Saturday Night Live with your friends or whatever. Afterwards was Saturday Night Dead with the horror host was Stella, the man-eater from Manayunk. and she was the one who, brought in a lot of these movies, and I learned a lot about what B movies were from watching those those shows. And we had like Channel 17 where we had the $1 Million Movie, and it was like Hercules versus the Bat Monster, and so that's where I really picked it up from.
That's what I was referring to in terms of what I would pick up on weekends.
Yeah,
Hercules and the Bat Monster, or whatever.
Yeah.
So we know you're big fans, especially you, Joey, of the action genre. Are there any other genres that you really love?
Oh, I mean, well, of course. I mean, obviously horror. Personally, for me, I'm into, I'm into that kind of stuff. Not much into science fiction. A little bit, not too much. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I like maybe a good Braveheart or something like that. Like, if it's going to be like, and it's got to be something like that, good war movie, like a story, something. Saving Private Ryan.
All right, what about you, Katie?
I probably like sci-fi better than Joe does. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably, generally speaking, I'm probably more open to a lot of genres than Joe is. I'll say the one area that we both kind of agree on is that neither of us is too into things that are too artsy and metaphorical. I think, like, for me especially, I would say I want to see a plot, even if it's like a weird, nonsensical, bad action movie kind of plot. I want there to be a story, even if it fails. I want there to be a story. Yeah, there's something about certain movies that it's like you're trying to make me think too much. I don't want to sit here and be worried about what the subtext is, or sit here through an hour of character development. I'd rather they just start blowing something up with lasers, I guess.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, right?
Yeah, just go for it.
And also, and let's not forget, and as far as comedy goes, it's I like more of not the long-winded comedy. I like the quick hits. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of stuff that I like. The Norm Macdonald kind of, you know what I mean? Just the mean-spirited.
Wham bam, yeah.
Yeah.
Comedy is something that they don't do well in B movies, huh?
No.
That never really occurred to me until right now. Like, you can't. A bad comedy is just a bad comedy, but a bad action movie can be glorious.
Yeah.
And you can't say the same about comedy. Like, I'm suddenly realizing that we never.
That's true.
We don't watch a lot of B comedies. I guess the Midnight Owl show that Chris does is like B comedies. That'd be like
I'm gonna say that would be the closest thing I could think of.
Yeah, like the bawdy kind of comedies.
Which is another show on the B Zone.
Yes.
Interesting.
I didn't mean to name drop, but there you go, Chris. I just name dropped. The Midnight Owl on the B Zone. It's a great show.
It is. Yeah, it's fantastic. So, well, actually, speaking of, y'all have done crossovers with two different people, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Including Midnight Owl TV.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was a fun one. That was what? Was that City Ninja?
What's that?
Was that City Ninja? Was that one?
Yes. City Ninja was the one that we did several segments for. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny though. We sent we do have like a green screen, one of those just sort of relatively simple ones. And Chris just sort of sent us a list of things he wanted us to do. We didn't necessarily have a ton of context, so we just sort of sent him these little snippets of us doing these random things. And he's used them in a lot of different ways. So it's kind of funny whenever we're watching anything on the B Zone, I might suddenly pop up out of nowhere with a stern look of disapproval. So it's the sudden random disapproving Dr. V has become like a thing on the channel because he uses those segments all over the place, and it's hilarious to me because we don't know. Like we sent him these things of us just reacting, and we don't know how he's going to use them later.
Awesome. That's the best. I love it. Yeah. When y'all pop up on something, it's like it's just I don't know. It's always hilarious to me.
City Ninja was the original intended movie, but he's used those segments for other shows.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, name a movie that you like that might surprise somebody that like watches the B Zone.
Movie that might surprise somebody. Depends what you mean by surprise somebody.
Somebody is like, oh, they like that, or or something goofy, or just a random, generic, super generic thing, like mine, for example. Okay, mine would be Class Act with Kid and Play. I don't know what it is about that stupid movie. It's the most generic thing ever. But I watch it and I crack up every single time I watch it. I can't tell you why.
I don't know if this would surprise people given my age, but I really love cheesy 80s movies, like the ones that are just like pandering to the lowest common denominator of like adolescent girls. And one of my favorites is Teen Witch.
Yes.
Like the memes and stuff pop up from that because the songs in there are just timeless, like Top That and everything. Like people quote it, like it does have a cult following. But like something that's just so brainless and yet was made by like a big studio and was intended for a certain audience. Like that just astounds me that those types of movies existed in the 80s, and that's just something I really really enjoy. Like, gosh, what's another one that's sort of like in that same vein? Like just one of the guys, just one of the girls. Those two films, like those to me are just so just turn your brain off. Perfect.
Absolutely, agreed, 100%.
And on my end, I mean, we could go either way of the spectrum here. I mean, I love Clockwork Orange. However, I'm also the guy that hated Gigi Allen to Chris. So we could go on, where do we want to go here? Asking me this question.
See, this is interesting because I feel like you ask somebody like, what's your favorite movie? Joe's going to give you that answer of, oh, it's a Clockwork Orange. It's a masterpiece. And my answer is Teen Witch.
Yeah.
But that's why y'all work so well together.
I guess.
Yeah.
Things that clash yet work. I don't know.
I hate a Clockwork Orange. For me, it's one of those movies that is too artsy and full of itself.
Well,
I was just about to say it's kind of artsy. I was just about to say that.
But you see, here's the thing. I have a love-hate relationship with the movie because the thing is, I love the book, and I love the visuals of the movie, even though it's artsy and everything like that. But my problem with the movie is that this whole movie could be like, it could never actually happen after like the first scene, because when he breaks in and he does the thing with the where he singing in the rain or whatever, he does that the next night to the woman in the cat house, right? Where he hits her over the head, where he murders her. But he says the same thing they said about the writer the night before. That's how he opened the
I think you're going down a rabbit hole here.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, wouldn't she have known?
Yeah. Well, you got to suspend disbelief. I mean, are you the same person that watched like John D. Hart and said like, yeah, all right, I'll accept this, but you can't get over that like one little discrepancy, potential plot hole in a Clockwork Orange?
Yeah. Good for covering up my faux pas. Thank you.
Yeah. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I'm keeping you in check.
Yeah, that's marriage. Keeping you on track with your stories.
Yes, indeed.
I'm much older now, so I'm not the same.
Well,
much older than when you started this interview?
No. I mean, like when I first started doing shows and stuff like that and doing that, I was much sharper of wit. And just watching these movies has dumbed down my brain in such a way that I've lost just a little on the IQ.
Probably.
So how was doing those first episodes? Was it like complete insanity and like, just chaos, or?
It was overwhelming because neither of us has any experience doing any of that kind of thing. Like Joe has some photography training, but I think even just figuring out the logistics of how to film, how to write an episode, like that was a lot. Because our episodes are scripted, and this guy like refuses to try to memorize anything. So we had to go through this whole process
You've
of figuring
just
out
heard
like
me talk. You don't want me memorizing.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
Exhibit
smart.
A, Exhibit A. But so we had to go through this whole process figuring out like, okay, so how do we get like a teleprompter? Like, what are we gonna do? So it was kind of an ordeal just from that perspective.
Right.
So I would say our first like 6 episodes or so, I'm not like super proud of. I think some of them are really good because we had some really good movies in those first handful of episodes. But they're when we go back and watch them now, they look and feel really, really rough. Like,
Yeah. You can see like there's a lot of edits. There's me stopping and starting and trying to, and especially our second movie that we did had a lot of. It was hard for me to learn the pronunciations because it was.
Oh yeah,
it was,
God forbid we have like Italian movies in there.
Yeah.
Joe has to do like 6 takes on those names.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. Yeah, some of them are like.
Yeah,
So
you know,
what-
I'd say even now, like we're still whenever we film things now, we're still winging it. Like neither of us is knowledgeable about cameras, anything like that. And it's kind of funny. People try to be helpful and like give us suggestions, and it's like, sir, I have no idea what you just described, and there is no way I have the editing prowess to remotely do that. But thank you for the input. It's a great idea.
I remember. Didn't Lobo ask us to do a shot for the episode?
Oh well, he
with the
asked
severed
us.
arm, and he said to do, and you were like, "What is that?" We had to Google
He
it.
asked us to.
So
He
we
asked,
didn't
well, he
know what
asked
we were
us something
doing.
about like the specs that we wanted from him, and we're like, I don't know what words you're using. Just film this segment.
I completely understand that. I'm kind of the same way. I'm like, I'm just gonna film it. Yeah, see if you can use it.
Yeah, like I know how to hit record.
Right?
I know how to create clips. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Doing YouTube is very similar.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So let's after Action Smack, what was the next show that you guys created?
That was Joey V Presents.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Joey V Presents. We gave it like a very generic name like that because that was the genesis of us saying like we want to do things other than just action movies. Like that was us starting to get a little in a rut,
Right.
and we could. Yeah, so that very sort of generic name gave us an opening to do whatever we wanted with it. So we use that for a lot of different things. Like we use that to do like the failed TV pilots, which was a totally different concept. We did that was the first branding, if you will, under which we did like a reaction type film too. That was also Joey V Presents. We also use that to reboot some of the old Action Smacked ones, like especially those early ones that are a disaster. We rebooted them under a Joey V Presents. So yeah, that was the first vehicle to allow us a little more latitude on what we could do.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, the failed TV pilots episodes are fantastic. Those
Yeah.
I love those.
Yeah, we should do more of those.
I've always, I've always taken a little bit of a certain bit of pride in those. That's always been like my baby. And I mean, I know Action Smack, I say it's my baby, and it is. That's my bread and butter. But those things, those two were very special to me. And I put a lot of work and time into them. And I picked those episodes, those TV shows, and I ran them in a certain way because I thought that was the way I saw them as funny. Like as an up and down thing, like, okay, we're going to do good here. Okay, all right, we're back to normal. Maybe it'll get better. And then it really sinks to the bottom. And then your dreams are completely destroyed.
Yeah.
So you have to keep, sort of a...
Yeah. We should do another one of those. And we need about 4 to do a full episode of those. And that feels like a good length sort of for something like that. And that's another place where it can be a little difficult to find what we want. Like you can hear about all these things, but a lot of it's lost media essentially. They're not all things you can download from random sources, and like he just described, he prefers to be pretty picky about what he puts on there too. So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons we haven't done more of those. It's actually surprisingly difficult to assemble just the right collection for an episode like that.
Now, I have a question to ask you. Out of the two, which one was your favorite one? Because I've had people like I've actually asked people this question before.
I don't remember which was in one and which was in two. I know if you were to ask me which pilot was the most memorable, is that one where it was like a musical about a donut shop.
Yeah,
that was two.
Something Plaza.
Yes, that was two.
Plaza or whatever. Yeah,
Shangri-La Plaza.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah,
that was.
I was going to say that was my favorite.
That was such a WTF.
It was, oh God.
Like, how did they make this kind of moment when we discovered that? When I discovered it, he had heard of it. I didn't remember it at all.
Yeah. The only I knew about the Clerks episode, but all the other ones y'all ran, I had no clue.
Yeah. The Puchinsky one was also pretty shocking to me. That was really memorable too.
That was two as well.
That was the second one too. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Right. So Joey V presents. Right. So y'all did a few different genres. I remember a couple of horror flicks. And like you said, a couple of reboots from Action Smash.
Yeah.
And then is that when you started doing these experiments?
Yeah.
Well, you started doing them during the Joey V. It started during Joey V Presents.
I kind of forget exactly.
It was Road to Revenge. You made a drink.
Yeah, I made a drink for the Road to Revenge Joey V Presents reboot.
And then that started the snack experiments.
Yeah, because I think it started. That was the first time I filmed a segment. That was the first segment I filmed. But I was doing that and just like posting it in the Facebook group prior to that, like, oh, we're watching a movie tonight about I don't even remember some of those themes, but that's something I've always loved doing, is watching a movie and saying, oh, what's a snack or a drink that goes with this theme? For some reason, I've always loved doing that. So I was already doing it and like sharing it in the Facebook group. Right. And we decided in that Joey V Presents, it might be fun to just add a segment of me doing that. And people seem to like it enough that I decided to do more of those. So yeah, that was where it started, was just as that like few minutes. And so I did how many, like 30 of those just kind of short segments that are just filler for use anywhere kind of thing for the movie themed snacks. Dr. V's B movie snacks.
Well, I thought that was a brilliant idea when y'all started doing that.
Well, thank you.
And some of the concoctions you come up with are extremely interesting. Where do you get some of these?
Trust me, I have to taste them. I know.
Well, some of them are kind of like I watch the movie and I think to myself, I have to come up with a snack that goes along with this movie. So in cases like that, it's not always super literal. Like I think the sleepaway camp one is one that's not super literal, where I turned it into a cocktail that just had these different elements that kind of related to the movie, and I called it the spoiler alert. And I'm not going to say what the garnish is, because that gives it away. But so that was one where it's just like elements of the movie come together, and it is just kind of a concoction of whatever. And sometimes it's more literal, like something is featured in the movie. Like, and an example of that would be Driller Killer, where they have that like half pepper pizza and the guy stuffs it in his face, and it's just this memorable scene of how gross he's being. So I decided to try to make my own pizza. So that one was like fairly literal. The Trax cookie is another case of something literal. It's something that's food that's featured in the movie.
Right.
And then I think the third type of idea comes from me seeing something weird online and deciding that is really bizarre. I want to try it. Let me find a movie to match with it. And that would be like the Fulciuto skull that was the prosciutto. I saw prosciutto skulls like online, wanted to try it, and I was like, that goes really well with a zombie film. So now it's a Fulciuto skull. So the ideas come from different places in that sense.
That's awesome. But it's funny. The ones that you're mentioning to me are some of the most memorable too.
Yeah.
Like that skull. That's one of the first things I think of when I think of
yeah.
Show. Yeah.
And it was one of the worst things I ever like made too. Like it looked awful.
Yeah.
It didn't work very well. I don't know how people do it.
It tasted all right.
I don't know how people Well, I mean, it was just prosciutto. It tasted fine, but it looked like hell.
But it's a hell of a lot of work for a lot of nothing.
Yeah,
it looked like just put prosciutto on the damn plate.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
It looked like a zombie that had been lying in the sun for a while.
So what was the worst? What was the worst snack that you made? For or is it the same?
What was the second part? Is what the same
for either each of you, or if it's the same, whatever. Either way.
Well, I definitely know.
I say nothing. You talk about the wife's cooking. You get in trouble now, man.
Well,
good point. Good point.
I know when I actually did the countdown, I actually reflected on all like 35 that I had done to date or whatever. The top one, everybody assumed it would be that Trax chili con cookie, but it was actually the bubblegum martini that I did for They Live. And
yeah,
the reason was like, this actually isn't even totally reflected in the segment that I did. Like the filming that I did was kind of short. I just made the cocktail, tasted it. I'm like, oh, that's okay. But it was made with bubblegum infused vodka. And that probably has a flavor you can buy, but I was trying to be a purist about it. So I actually tried to infuse my own vodka with bubblegum. And it was kind of okay at first sip, but I just continued sipping on it while I was cleaning up. And after I got a few sips in, I started to feel sick. Like that bubblegum vodka was just such a disaster. Oh, so that, like, it's one of the few times in my life that I've completely just thrown out the rest of a cocktail. Like, come on. So yeah, that was memorably bad. But there might be a new winner in terms of what was the worst things, because there's something new that hasn't aired yet. It's airing in the next couple of weeks. That was probably the worst thing I have ever cooked. And it is another Trax themed cookie.
Oh, wow. Breaking news right here, folks.
Yeah. Yep. Brand new. And probably it was worse than the chili con cookie. It was one of his other brain children from that movie.
All right, well, let's flip that. What's the best one that you've done?
Gosh.
There have been a few good ones.
There have been a few really good ones. I forget what I named as the best in that countdown, actually, come to think of it. I should have watched that before for going on
there you go.
For coming on the show to remind myself about all these.
Hey.
Or when it comes out.
We're prepared.
Yeah. We definitely did our homework for this interview. I remember the really tasteless joke I made for the Wang Wang movies where I made Asian shrimp. That was actually really good. It was like Filipino shrimp adobo, basically, and that was like shockingly good because it was relatively simple. But I was like, wow, this is delicious. Yeah, what were some other things that were just? I remember what it was. I think my number one best food was the Turkish meatballs for Turkish Rambo. Yep. They were absolutely delicious. I was not expecting them to be. But they were amazing.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. Yeah. It's meat, so of course it's good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I understand that. So then after you started doing these experiment shorts, is that when you moved on to Dinner in a Laboratory?
Yeah, that actually came out of conversations with Chris, the guy who runs B Zone. We just started thinking about like what's something that might be a bit more long format, and it's really the same kind of concept. It's me making a snack to go along with the movie, but it's just more segments. Because a lot of times for the short segments that I do, I'll just show you like, okay, here's the ingredients and okay, here's the results. Not like I'm doing a real cooking show where I detail every step and that kind of thing. A lot of times it's just very brief like that. But really it lends itself well to doing a long form if you do longer segments, break it up into parts, and space it out throughout the movie. Like it was kind of logical. Like in a way, it was almost, why didn't we think of this before? And we piloted it by actually taking one of my short segments and just doing that. Just one of the ones that I had done for no specific purpose, and just editing it around, an existing movie that Chris was already airing. I think it was for for Lady Terminator. I did the eel pies, and so Chris just took that and edited it around the movie, and that was kind of the first try at doing the more long form. But it's really pretty much the same concept, just broken up differently.
Right. And then when y'all came together and y'all have a show together, well, called Movie Night.
Mm-hmm.
With the V capitalized. So,
The V's, yeah. Movie
Yeah.
Night. Yeah, and that again, that also just kind of grew organically because it started with the segment we had done for My Mom's a Werewolf, and that's the other one of the other B movie gurus, Zach Romero. That's something that he does on his channels. He contributes to a few different channels and has a lot of his own work, and he invited both of us to come do segments with him, and like sort of the joke for mine was that he was going to make me watch. He was going to make me do one of his final 30s where you watch the last 30 minutes of a movie you've never seen before and try to figure out what's going on. So it was My Mom's a Werewolf, and I was kind of like, you know what, that's interesting, and I do want to watch the whole thing start to finish now. So we decided to just film us watching the whole thing, and that was around the same time that like YouTube streamers doing reactions and on Twitch and Discord and everything like that was sort of starting to grow at the same time. So it was kind of a natural transition to just do more of those. Obviously, we don't stream them live; they're recorded and aired later. But same idea. It's something we haven't seen before, and we're just off the cuff saying what we think.
So do y'all? I mean, I know y'all work together on all the shows, like together. But do y'all like being together on camera more, or do you like, or is it easier being separated?
You go first.
If you kind of understand what I mean.
I think I like it more having Katie here with me. It's fun to be able to bounce something off and a joke and seeing if it's hit. If it goes bad, I can, sort of make myself look like an idiot.
If it goes bad, I can just make a face at you.
Yeah, you can make fun of me. I mean, I used to like doing it alone, but it's always good to have a little team around you, where you could sort of buddy up and have a blast on something. And I'll do things alone, and Action Smacked I'll do alone, but it's always fun to have, my best half with me.
Of course.
Oh.
Wasn't that sweet?
Yeah. Well, I know. Yeah, I think it's been kind of refreshing to do something like Movie Night because we don't have to script it or really think about it. We just sit down and watch it. We have to worry about whether our camera is going to run the whole time or if we're suddenly going to overheat or run out of memory. Those are things we keep encountering, which is a pain. But definitely, at the very beginning of this interview, we talked about, that we had to get used to scripting for Action Smacked. And, that's just another layer of complexity and hassle, frankly, that sometimes gets old. So it's nice taking a break from that and just doing something that's more improvised. I wouldn't say it takes less time at the end of the day, but there is some, on some level, it's a little less stressful to just work off the cuff a bit. So I like that aspect of working together. But I will say I don't mind it when he's the only one on camera because it means I don't have to worry about what my hair looks like that day or anything. I got to admit, one of the reasons I started doing the whole glasses and lab coat thing for most of my segments was because it kind of takes the guesswork of wardrobe and makeup out of it. Just throw on the glasses, throw on the lab coat, and go for it.
Boom, you're done. You're ready. That's right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Nice. Well, I love both you guys individually. I think y'all both fantastic. But to me, together, it's just, I don't know. It works.
Well, thank you.
I love seeing y'all together, honestly, and I'm so glad that you came together for this.
Well, and if I may say so, I think the other thing is that I think the chemistry that we have together this is a lot of what we are when we're together in our home. This is the way I am. This is the way I act. I'm not really a normal kind of guy, and she kind of has to put up with it. And I think it shows that there's a real heartwarming thing between us. Like I've always said, I feel like we sort of I think we come off on the screen as kind of a genuine thing because there's a lot of realism there. And I've always that's another thing that I like about us working together.
Valentine's Day was yesterday. You
It's not.
You can cut the crap.
Listen, it's not about Valentine's. I'm just saying, like, it's just, I think we come off like it's not like a script with us. Like, it's not like an act. It seems like it's real, and I think people like that.
So, Katie, were you a big cook growing up?
Yes and no. So my mom is also a scientist, so she definitely taught me like how to follow a recipe. Like that's a big thing with scientists. You get good at following a recipe, following a protocol. But I would not say that my family, I didn't grow up with like a big cooking tradition. Like Joe grew up in an Italian American family that, cooking was a huge deal. I did not. Definitely my mom was kind of cooking whatever she found in like Ladies Home Journal magazine or whatever, which was, often 15 years already out of date and something, kind of strange that pretended to be Chinese food, but wasn't at all Chinese food, that kind of thing. So I definitely I learned a lot of cooking from my mom, but I would not say that I cooked a ton until I was an adult. Definitely something that I've had to learn over time, but I think that kind of has served me well in doing these segments too. That's kind of why I make them. I'm just going to try this, and if it fails, if it's terrible and it stinks and it tastes awful and looks like hell, that's okay because I'm trying, I'm learning, and that's kind of like the attitude I still take towards my cooking. I don't all that often cook the same thing twice. I always want to try something new that I find out about and that kind of thing. So I think that's part of what I'm also bringing to the table for those shows as well, is I don't want to stand there and be Rachel Ray and show you how to cook something that's like amazing and that she's done 20 times before and that they've tested and perfected. No, I'm going to show you something that I'm trying out, and it'll probably be awful, but it might not be. When it's not awful, it's a nice surprise. So
nice. Awesome. What about you, Joe? Were you a big cook growing up?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I did work some jobs at some restaurants and whatnot. But as far as cooking goes, I mean, I used to. I love my grill. I love smoking foods and stuff like that, meats and stuff like that. But nowadays she's really taken over, and her cooking is amazing. I mean, compared to what you might see on some of the experiments, the real life cooking is impeccable. So I'm very, very lucky.
It's a slightly higher percentage of success.
Yes.
I mean.
Well, that's good.
We'll put it that way, maybe.
What other hobbies do you guys have besides OCD?
Gosh, well, I think probably sitting around and watching movies has become the predominant hobby during our pandemic time here. But prior to that, we liked traveling a lot. That was one of the main things, was we liked to travel and try new foods and cuisines and that kind of thing. Yeah, what were our lives like before 2020?
Well,
I don't even remember. Does anybody even remember what they did with themselves before 2020?
Hey, let me tell you what I've been doing with myself. Okay, I've been watching YouTube myself. Been watching YouTube drama. Oh my God, I love it.
Joe has gotten into YouTube drama,
Yeah.
which is painful.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we do play video games, but I would hesitate to call us like gamers or anything, because it's not like we don't have a Twitch channel or anything like that. I don't even like playing online with other gamers, because I don't know, there's just always some 11-year-old that's gonna own my ass.
Well,
and then
what you do
what fun is that?
Yeah, but you just go into these things where they're yelling at you, just yell, Face Clan or something like that, or like just something like that, just
see. But now you're talking about that drama stuff again.
Yeah,
I don't even know who that is.
They're a gang, or I don't know,
a gang,
something like
an esports gang.
Yeah, I think crypto or some crap.
It's probably crypto. Yeah. Okay.
Well, the YouTube drama is a rabbit hole I have not gone down yet.
It's awesome.
It's not. It's not. It's like he also loves bad reality TV, like Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah.
So it's almost like if you take Vanderpump Rules, where they bicker just for the sake of bickering, and put it on YouTube and make it like average citizens just bickering on YouTube.
Yes, that's what it is. It's just a bunch of fights.
Hey, but I mean, good for them. They're making millions of dollars doing it. So
Hey,
I think they're the smart ones here.
Yeah.
So were there any shows that inspired your shows? Like Up All Night or Elvira?
This
anything?
probably comes more from you, because honestly, I didn't know that much about these like movie hosts growing up. Like I knew who Elvira was, but I didn't know like Joe Bob or Svengoolie or these other people that you knew about. You already mentioned Rhonda,
right? Like and for me, I had
Rhonda?
Rhonda, yeah,
Rhonda the Maniac.
Rhonda. No. That's you're thinking Rhonda Shear from Up All Night.
Yes, Rhonda Shear was Up All Night. Who was the Maniac person?
That's Stella.
Stella.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry, we're totally confusing shit. See, I'm not as knowledgeable about it. You answer.
Well, you see, but the thing is, I also had cable too, so I had a lot more to go on, and that was, that was how I was able to have access to a lot of the stuff early. So, like, for me, trying to be like, I don't know, God, I wouldn't know which host I would. You got to do it with a little bit of comedy. So I guess it would be more like Joe Bob, but it isn't like Joe Bob, because Joe Bob did the horror movies. So it's got to be more actiony, and that's a tough one for me. I guess I'm gonna have to say close enough. It's got to be like Joe Bob, because you got to put some comedy into this. You can't just do it straight.
Right. Oh yeah, I can definitely see some Joe Bob for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And then Katie, I was thinking like the Dinner and a Movie show, which I don't know if you ever saw.
I did, but much later in life. I didn't grow up on it. I don't know what years that was even on, actually. But again, yeah,
it was the mid to late 90s.
Yeah, and I didn't have cable, so for so long I didn't have cable. I did see that later in life. So yeah, I don't totally know. I guess a lot of it is probably Joe's influence and the fact that he has since introduced me to a lot of these things that I hadn't seen before.
Right, I got you. So both of you still work day jobs, I assume. Yeah.
Well, I do. I'm the breadwinner.
Yeah.
Nice.
Me, I get to hang out.
Joe hangs out and watches YouTube drama.
Yeah, she lets me hang out.
and build the bar. I see. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
yeah,
I did have jobs for many years in my life, but now, I mean, we're just in that area of life where
I like to say that he's my pool boy, because we do have a pool, so in the summer that's his main job, is keeping the pool clean and that kind of stuff.
Hey, that counts. The first episode I ever saw was Kid with C. Thomas Howell.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So that's how long ago I discovered you guys. And then the episode right after that instantly became one of my favorites, and it was Lady Avenger.
Oh my God, yeah.
and like, okay, for anybody who hasn't seen Lady Avenger, it's just the wackiest damn thing ever, but it's so fun.
Oh God.
And Joe, you made it even better. So in some way, you made it even better. And that episode always sticks out in my mind. For me. Are there any episodes that of any of the shows that really, really stick out to you guys?
Lady Avenger is one of them. I actually dressed up as Lady Avenger for Halloween one year.
I remember, yes.
Which really didn't involve much more than a bandana and a tank top, but that says it all. For me, one of the ones that I come back to repeat. So obviously Road to Revenge is just one of the classics. That's one of the ones that is inescapably one of our most classic episodes. Yeah. Yes. AKA Champagne and Bullets, AKA Get Even, AKA John D. Hart's masterpiece. That's the one that we always like introduce friends to when they say, "Oh, I've never seen your show." We're like, "Okay, we're gonna sit down and watch this film now." So yeah, that one's like an obvious choice. But the one that I can watch over and over again and never get tired of is Crocodile Fury, the Godfrey Ho movie. We watched it on an airplane. Actually, I forget we were going to like Florida or something. I probably had work, and he was coming with me, and we decided, you know what, let's use that plane flight. Let's put that time to good use. Let's watch some of these movies that are in our queue. And the people around us must have thought we were insane because we were laughing so hard in the middle of an airplane. I couldn't believe what we were seeing. I mean, I'd seen Godfrey Ho films before, so I knew to expect that they would be kind of disjointed and that sort of thing. But this one was so bizarre. I can watch it. I see. It's one of those movies where I see something or realize something new every time. Like, oh God, I didn't realize that guy completely falls off the boat there or whatever. Like, little things like that. It's such a bizarre movie, and I think that's one of my goals is to dress up like one of them for Halloween sometime too.
You know what I remember the most about that movie? Going into that movie, okay, I had never heard of it, and when we got that movie, one guy messages me in the Facebook chat or whatever. I never heard from him again, and I can't remember his name. But all he said was, I know that movie. That's the one with the flying crocodile. And I hadn't watched the movie yet, and I just said, what? And his answer was, you'll see. So then I was like, okay, now I'm gonna find out.
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing. I was actually going to bring that one up as well. Because that is, that's definitely in my top 3 episodes of anything ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, well, since we're on that subject, I'll mention a few more.
Okay.
That stand out to me.
Okay.
All right. Parole Violators.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That movie is so funny. And I just don't know. Like you just need to watch that one.
That's one of the rare movies that did not give us a lot to work with in terms of who the actors were or anything like that. But when we screened it, it was just so crazy. The segments just wrote themselves because it was just so weird. And the movie is trying so hard to be serious about it. It's almost like the To Catch a Predator guy, but if he. I don't know if he were somehow even like picture a concept that's even trashier, and he's just and he's completely bothering normal people trying to go about their lives, and for some reason he's also a martial artist, and I barely can even remember the idea behind that movie other than the fact that he's harassing people who are out on parole waiting for them to mess up again, and.
Right?
And he's I can't imagine how he
you broke the law. Now what are you going?
I can't imagine
trying to buy eggs.
I can't imagine why that went wrong for him, harassing people who are innocently going to the grocery store.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. If anyone hasn't seen Parole Violators, please seek it out.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's on YouTube. Check it out. All right. Let's see. Another one, and I think this was one of the first ones I saw from you guys was Ruckus.
Oh yeah.
Linda Blair and
yeah. The sword of Rambo.
Yeah. That was another great one. Nightmare Beach was another one I liked a lot.
Oh yeah.
And in fact, they just released Nightmare Beach on Blu-ray, and I bought it.
Oh, that probably means we can't ever air it again, I guess.
Yeah. It's like Kino or somebody released it. So
you guys will never see that film ever again now.
A lost episode of Action Smack.
There you go. We're losing them by the numbers now. We're just losing them by the numbers.
Let's see. Shoot Fighter was another great one, I thought.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, with Bolo Young,
Yeah.
That was a fantastic one. Avenging Force, Michael Dudikoff, yeah, that was highly requested, or maybe not that specific movie, but people had noticed we hadn't done a lot of Michael Dudikoff. But now we've done several of his. I think people stopped asking us to do more Michael Dudikoff. And then one that was a personal favorite of mine because it was my request was Twisted Justice.
Oh God, yes.
David Heavener flick, yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually hoping for a different David Heavener flick, but it's okay because Twisted Justice was great too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I had discovered David Heavener at the video store one day, and I was like, "What is this guy?" And so I rented it, and I was blown away with how awful it was. And so I've been preaching the gospel of David Heavener everywhere I go.
That's good work.
I'm trying, and to make things even funnier, he is now a preacher. So,
yeah. I wish I were more surprised.
But yeah, oh yeah.
I don't know. Is he one of those actors that that really takes everything he did very seriously and thinks it was all amazing?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. 100%.
That would be one hell of an interview.
Yes. If I can score that would be.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. And then of course the killer.
No.
Bullets.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Road to Revenge. Get Even.
I will still never get over the first. It's one of those movies where it's like I wish I hadn't seen it so I could experience it for the first time all over again. Like I remember it was just in a batch of movies that were sent to us. We had no idea what it was. Like at the time, we would tend to just get like clusters of movies. We'd screen like half a dozen of them at a time, and maybe we'd toss like one if it just didn't give us enough to talk about or whatever. But so yeah, that was in the batch of movies we had gotten and didn't know anything about it. Just started watching it. Like a lot of times our process is we just turn it on and sort of like write the script while we're watching the movie. And I remember at some point just closing my laptop and putting it to the side because the movie was spiraling so terribly and I couldn't stop laughing. And at some point I was like, did somebody just sneak this into the batch just to mess with us? Like, so is this like there were many moments where I was like, is this a real movie? What the heck?
So I texted my former boss. I told him about this, and he said, "Oh, we just don't have to do the movie." I was like, "Oh no, not now, not now. This is it. It's on.
We're invested at this point,
and it's got to happen." And it just kept getting
like just when you think it's not going to get weirder, it does, and it's just so I don't know.
But then
it's so hard to describe to somebody who hasn't seen it before. You just have to experience it.
And then but not just that, but then it got weirder and weirder just for me. Not even like now the movie is done and it's now the show's at. But then things just got stranger and stranger, and it just sort of like go into it like YouTube sites and like seeing it on there. And
it got pulled off of YouTube shortly thereafter as well. So I don't know if I like to think maybe we played a role in people giving it more attention because then it made John D. Hart realize that oh wait, this is out there and I could be making money on it.
I can guarantee the audience and everyone listening that when I would check YouTube, I would see Road to Revenge come up. Once in a while, I would go through the comments. I would say Action Smack brought me here, and I'd be. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, Al, were you the one who contacted John D. Hart directly to purchase a copy? Because somebody said they did that.
It was not me. But yeah, I was actually going to mention that as well. There was somebody in one of the pages that said they actually contacted John D. Hart, the director, writer, producer, songster, everything.
The everything.
Everything. He actually called him up and was like, "Hey, I'd like to buy your movie," because at the time you couldn't get the movie like nowhere, or if you did, it was like $300 or something really stupid.
Yeah.
And supposedly John D. Hart said, "Why you want this piece of crap?" or something. That's what I had heard.
Yeah.
But anyway, the guy convinced him to sell him a copy, I think for like $10 or $15 on DVD.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he actually sent it to him.
Yep.
So I was so tempted to call that number.
Yeah.
I was that close.
Yeah. Yeah, I think whoever did it just called like the number from like his law office's page.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. I like we talked about somehow me having a conversation with him, but I think that would be way too much for me. Like, I don't know if I could, you know.
Yeah, I also hear that he's also somebody who like takes his work pretty seriously.
Yes.
I don't know if he would. I don't know if he'd be so friendly towards
The
having.
commentary.
I don't. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really interested in the commentary. Does he come across as like? Does he say things like? Does he talk about it as though it is like an amazing work of art?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. He thinks this is like God's greatest gift to movie making.
Wow.
Straight up. And every once in a while, he'll do like a little chuckle in it, and it's like, okay, what was he laughing at?
Well, at least there's moments here and there he regrets. Then that's how I interpret that.
Indeed. So yeah, I would like to thank you for introducing me to this masterpiece.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Because I have told so many people about this movie, you have no idea.
It has enriched all of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, in a way, I got to thank John DeHart for my career. The amount of attention that this movie's brought for Action Smacked and myself and everything like that, it's been amazing for me, and I'm humbled by it almost. I mean, because of this, I was able to do a couple podcasts and get the name out there, and what we do over at the B Zone, and it's been so it's been very good for me, and gave me a lot of something very special.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how many times have y'all done the shimmy slide?
Never, never, because I can't dance. So there's certain things I can't dance. I can't dance. I can't swim. So I try to stay away from those things. Yeah.
How are those two things connected?
I don't know. I'm just thinking about things that I can't do. I can't dance. I don't think I can do. You
can't tie together cohesive thoughts.
No, I can't do that either.
Definitely not. So when you're doing your shows, is the other person on the other side of the camera, like filming?
Yes, usually, yeah.
Okay. There's certain times. I think for her, for the final 30. I think when we filmed that, I just left the camera going. I walked away, so I didn't watch your face when you were doing, the final 30.
Yeah, probably.
So I didn't give away or do anything that would, laugh at something that was coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, I know when I was doing the Driller Killer Pizza, he had to like interrupt and show me how to actually shape a pizza. Because I was just tearing holes in the dough. It was getting bad. I ended up cutting it out of the segment. It's a shame because I think you were like your PJs or something. If you'd been actually dressed, I probably would have kept that part of it.
Was I any good at it?
As like a blooper.
Was I any good at it?
Well, I mean, better than I was, but like I said, I was tearing holes all over the place in the pizza crust. I was really struggling.
What kind of stuff would you like to do going forward? Like, is there anything else that you'd like to do on the channel?
Yeah. He's got a new idea. Do you want to talk about your new idea or keep it secret?
Or just you can do a basic.
Yeah.
I you know what? Actually, for now, I think it's best that I keep it secret because I want to make sure I can do it first. I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Right,
but I do have an idea, and I do have a plan.
Okay. Sounds good. So yeah, so are new episodes coming of all the shows, or what shows are coming up, I should say?
We have a movie night coming up, which includes another spice challenge. It's kind of funny that just in that moment, our spicy wings that we ate for dinner kind of repeated on me. That's kind of appropriate because, I kind of forget how we first got the idea to do a spice challenge as part of our like snack incorporation, but we did that, and now it's kind of a thing where every once in a while we throw in a spice challenge. So we did that for the most recent movie night.
You have to do what you gotta do.
Yeah. And we also have a Joey V Presents that is kind of a reworked, rebooted episode of Action Smacked.
Oh.
It incorporates some of my work into his episodes. So we kind of smashed everything together.
Nice. Nice.
So those are the two upcoming projects, and then we're definitely still open to doing more. It's just we're kind of to a point where we don't want to keep up the pace of doing a ton of episodes because it just gets a little exhausting. We find that we feel more creative and more proud of what we're doing when we take our time and pick out something we really think fits and an idea that we really are having fun with, rather than like I've already mentioned a couple of times, when it got to the point where we had done so many action smacked episodes for 2 years, we did an episode every week. We did 100 episodes
straight.
Well,
I know. Well, we did miss 2 weeks. It was
like
100.
crazy extreme circumstances.
Yeah.
Like there was a week where we didn't have
snowstorm.
We didn't have power for a week,
Yeah.
so we had to miss an episode. Like it was things like that. Other than that, for 2 years straight, we did 100 episodes, and it's kind of grueling doing that much writing and editing and working during the day and that kind of thing. It's not like this is purely a hobby. We do not make money doing this. It's just for the love of what we're doing. So we want to do a pace that feels good. Make sure, if we don't feel like filming, we just say, you know what, we're not filming tonight, because we want to make sure our energy is totally in it when we do film.
We want to make sure, and especially myself, I want to make sure that when I put out a product for my fan base, I want to give them the best product they could possibly see. Like, I want them to really enjoy this.
as good as what we can muster up anyway.
And with what we
kind of going back to the fact that we don't know what we're doing and don't have good equipment. We just wing it.
And yes, and we are winging it. And for what we wing, when we wing it great. And I want to make sure that we wing it great every time. We are winging it to wing it to wing it.
Are we in like a chicken wings commercial now?
Yes, we are.
So, and then, okay, so my last real question is, so how did you guys get involved with B-Zone?
Really, because the previous channel that we were contributing to, Chris had done, Chris, who I mentioned, who does B-Zone, he was contributing some work as well. And he decided he wanted to do his own thing. He has a background in media and media production, and he's done his own films. He really has ambitions to, I think he'd love to have his own like movie production company and that kind of thing. He has those kinds of ambitions. So he decided he wanted to do his own channel, and he came to us and said, you guys can contribute however, whenever you want, which was appealing to us because, like we keep saying, we really kept up a really grueling schedule for a couple of years, and we reached a point where we just wanted to chill a little bit more.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm taking a totally relaxed attitude towards this. You can send me stuff whenever you feel like it. And that was just very compatible with where we were at.
And that's been a blessing for us too, because, I've been able to get a lot of my things I needed to do and check.
Yeah.
And get my life in order, because I couldn't, because it was a weekly grind.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's sort of like,
because we've even had some other offers, like Mr. Lobo, who is a really prestigious
wonderful guy,
host in his own right, and a really good person. We collaborated with him, and after that collaboration, he kind of said, like, I would take the material you guys are doing, and he had a lot of good recommendations for improving our quality and everything.
Yeah.
And, but we kind of said to ourselves, like, that's like a little bit of an intimidating offer because he's kind of the real deal. And we started to worry it would be too stressful to try to be contributing to his channel and to try to live up to the quality that he's producing over there. We kind of preferred just being more in this little mellow corner of the universe where we can just keep doing what we do and not worry too much about having to produce a lot of content and that kind of thing. So that's really why we landed with B-Zone, is just because the very sort of relaxed opportunity that it posed, that we could just take things as they come and be as creative as we want and produce content whenever we want and not really feel pressured to. So it was just kind of right place, right time that he was starting up this thing and made this offer. And it was like, okay, this fits exactly with the life we want to have right now. So.
Right place, right time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So as a fellow content creator that works a full-time job, I totally understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's quite a grind to try to get some videos out every week when I'm working
Yeah.
40 hours a week as well. Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. So yeah, and I really like it just being a hobby. Like, I don't envy people like Mr. Lobo who are making a living at it, because there is a lot of pressure involved with that to
Right.
be producing content. And if you have some sort of technical issue, it can really cut into your revenue for a week. Like that's the kind of thing we don't personally want to deal with. So
Yeah.
I like staying small time, and I think it fits with the spirit of B movies too. We're a small time production as well.
Right. Yeah, it fits perfectly. Absolutely. All right. So is there anything else that you guys would like to add?
I would just add that over the years, I mean, we've been sort of at this for what, almost 5 years now?
Yeah,
Going on 5
we're getting on
years.
5 years.
I think it's been
half a decade.
What has surprised me the most is just the bonding and the community that we've been exposed to, and the great people we've gotten to know, who we never would have met otherwise. And of course, during the past couple of years where life got real weird and we were all trapped in our houses a little more, we had all these people that we could reach out to and watch movies together. And it's that's been the most surprising part of this to me, is just like the friends we've made. It sounds a little cheesy saying that, but this is a nice little community of people who love watching garbage films.
I mean, what's better than that, right?
Yeah.
And we've been and same here. I mean, I've gotten to make lifelong friends through this, and that's worth more than any kind of money, any kind of monetary value I can get out of this. I'm enjoying just being able to do this and have a little fun on the weekends and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, I can say the same with YouTube. I've met a whole lot of very nice people, and I consider a lot of them my friends. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would like to thank both of you guys very, very much for coming here.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
And so look forward to Action Smack airs on Thursdays, correct?
Most commonly, it's Thursdays. Chris plays around the exact time of it. Sometimes it's on at 8:30. Sometimes it's on later at like 10. But Action Smacked is usually on Thursday nights on B Zone. And then like the other stuff that we do, a lot of times he puts our new content on like Saturday nights.
So I guess it would premiere on Saturday.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The Facebook page, like because the schedule isn't like super set, I would direct everybody to the B Zone Facebook page, because that's where all the schedules are.
As well as schedules are, and that's also where the live threads are.
That's where live threads are. Yep. That's where we sit and make fun of the movies together.
Yeah, and let me tell you, some of these live discussion threads are some of the funniest things I've ever read in my life.
Sometimes I go back. If I missed the film, I'll still go back and read the thread later just to see what people were saying.
Yes, so definitely check out the V Zone Facebook page. You will not regret it, I promise.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a Roku, go get a Roku so you can watch V Zone.
Totally free, ad free channel.
Yep. Won't cost you a dime to see my face.
But we're also not going to pay you.
Which is $20 too much.
Yeah. It's a trade-off. You got to stare at Joe for an hour.
All right. Well, again, thank you guys for being here so much. And I will share all the links below in the description box.
Awesome.
How you can get to the V Zone, how you can watch all these shows, and I'll leave Facebook, Twitter, all that down there.
Great.
So I will see all you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
And,
thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.